I was able to sweep him, get on top, pass, mount, and win the match.
Yeah.
I could just feel he was not uncomfortable with me staying in a single leg, and that made me uncomfortable. It goes back to that adaptability, right? Like I have to have a game plan and strategy, but I need to be able to adapt.
Hey everybody, my name is Christian Garcia with Deep Dive Jiu-Jitsu, and we're here at Heritage BJJ in Marlboro, New Jersey, hanging out with Andy Murasaki, who we just finished doing a seminar with, the man himself. Andy, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I didn't sleep much. I got here last night, 3 a.m., but I had enough sleep. You know, I think I was able to teach a good seminar today, gi and no-gi. First time ever in New Jersey.
Awesome.
First time ever teaching gi and no-gi seminar on the same seminar on the same day. But I think I did a really good job. I think that people enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I took a lot of things out of your seminar, but that actually leads me to my first question. You know, you're primarily a gi guy, even though that you're a no-gi world champion. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, from past interviews, you mentioned that you didn't really, like, train too much no-gi leading up to that competition.
Yes.
But now it seems like you're a lot more intentional when training no-gi and competing in no-gi. Can you talk to us a little bit about, like, what adjustments you had to make for your game, going from primarily gi to now competing more no-gi?
Yes, honestly, I still love gi more than no-gi.
Yeah.
And I feel like gi will always be my main passion. And it's just, I kind of see gi and no-gi as a one, like, jiu-jitsu. It's part of jiu-jitsu, you know? You just take the gi off and you do jiu-jitsu, you know? And that's how I always felt. But obviously, nowadays, it's becoming like a different sport. Like gi and no-gi, they're different sports, different techniques, different approaches, you know, rule sets. The sport has evolved so much. You know, like back in the day when ADCC first started, the guys that were winning ADCC, they were doing gi all year, and then 2-3 months before ADCC, they would take the gi off and just do jiu-jitsu, I guess. You know, like nowadays it's not like that. Like people are prioritizing just no-gi and evolving, and because of that, the no-gi has evolved so much the last 5-10 years. You know, but like I said, I love gi more than no-gi. It's what I enjoy training. Sometimes I still get frustrated, you know, because of the less friction, you know, less control. I can't really, if my partner wants just to disengage and just play like cagey, it's kind of hard to engage, you know. Obviously, then it's on me to be more technical and learn, and I'm in the process, okay? But in the gi, you just grab the collar, grab the pants, and they're there, you know. But I'm enjoying training no-gi. The adaptations I had to do from gi to no-gi is the grips.
Okay.
That's the main thing. I feel like in the gi, my game is a lot based on controlling the De La Riva, controlling the pants, controlling the collar, controlling the sleeve. And then if they're trying to disengage the legs away, not give me the legs, I have the upper body grips, collar, sleeve, collar, both sleeves, to still control the upper body and attack the upper body, or at least get them to react and get to the legs. Yeah. For no-gi, it's much more difficult to do that, you know, because we don't have the grips. So there's a lot of new adaptations that I'm having to go through, but I'm enjoying. It's like learning something new.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like, not that I was never bored in jiu-jitsu, but in the gi, I was more comfortable, you know, with the things I like to do. I know all the options, and out of all these options, I feel like this is what fits best with my game, my personality, and then I'll kind of stick to that. Obviously, it's always open-minded to open my game and evolve, but I had a lot of experience in the gi to kind of be able to say, okay, I feel like this will be better for me. Let me just stick with these 3 groups of skill.
No.
You know? For no-gi, I feel like I'm really open-minded to anything, because I really don't really have a game yet in no-gi. I'm trying to kind of expose myself to every scenario, every approaches, to then eventually be like, okay, I've exposed myself to all the scenarios, all the approaches, different approaches. These are the ones I feel comfortable with, and I feel like it matches with my personality and how I like to fight.
Awesome.
But I'm still not there yet. I'm still learning and exposing myself to all these different approaches in nogi.
I mean, you're definitely looking good though, man. So it's awesome to hear that, you know, even at your level, you're still like learning, right? Like it's not like I know that some people they train, they feel like they plateau, right? But you know, it's a learning process, right? So
I think
for you.
that they have a saying. They say when you know about something, you also know when you don't know about something. You know, I feel like that's the case. Like because I trained the gi for so long, like even to this day, probably I've spent 95% of my time training in the gi. So with that comes the confidence that okay, about this thing I understand well, you know. But then when you have that deep knowledge about something, you also understand when you don't really have the deep knowledge on the other stuff. You know? Maybe for the camera guy here is like he understands the editing, but maybe not interviewing much. You know what I mean? Same thing I feel with gi and no gi, you know. But I mean, learning is fun. I like learning. I like improving, and even though it's a no-gi and it's kind of different, a lot of the things I'm learning in no-gi with my training competitions, I'm being able to kind of apply in the gi. So that makes everything even more fun, you know.
Nice. Well, kind of sticking in the realm of like adjustments, right? You're also an athlete that's like competed in multiple weight classes. So can you talk to us a little bit about your approach when dealing with like specifically larger opponents and what you know you're kind of looking for when going up against them?
Yeah, whenever I'm training or competing against heavier opponents, I think the first goal is always to keep the distance and being a distance that favors me. So obviously if they're too close and I don't have frames because of the weight difference and strength difference, once they close the gap, it might be difficult for me to regain the gap, to create distance again. I would say that a mistake can cost you a lot more. With someone about my size, maybe I make a mistake, I'm able to, with effort, not so much technically, but maybe with physical effort, I can maybe regain and regain distance, we will say. But with someone bigger and strong, that's more of a difficult task to do. So I really have to prioritize and focus a lot on technique and making sure I'm already in a big disadvantage physically. So technically speaking or tactically speaking, how can I put myself at an advantage? So big people, especially if they're tall, I'm always trying to get under the legs, underneath. That way they're on top of me, but they're not really applying pressure on me. And then if anything, I'm already slipping to the back. I'm going for submission sweeps, and avoid at all costs chaotic scenarios. Like if I'm going against someone a lot bigger, I'm trying to avoid wrestle ups, scrambles like that, because for obvious reason it will be more difficult for me. So, but at the end of the day, I enjoy the challenge. I think I've always trained with heavier people in the academy. I enjoy training with heavier people, stronger people, and I feel like that made a lot of difference through my color belts. I was always doing open classes and challenging myself against heavier opponents with the mindset that, okay, when I would actually fight or train with someone my size, it would feel a lot easier. And it is a lot easier, Sometimes training with people my size, it can be more difficult in different aspects. Maybe they're better technically, maybe they're more flexible, the guard retention is better, But as far as physically, and the mindset approach that you need to have, obviously, when someone's stronger and bigger, it adds more difficulty to the task.
So at Deep Dive, we really like studied your X guard, right? So I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about your system with X guard. Now, when somebody's like engaging your guard, right, your opponent, what are you kind of like looking for there? Are you going off of their reaction, what they're doing, or are you kind of like trying to bait them to do something so that you can kind of capitalize and go into your X guard game?
I think a balance is important, and you need to be able to adapt. Like, of course, I'll go into the match with a game plan and a vision of what I'm trying to accomplish. If it's getting under the legs on the X guard, then it's getting under the legs, but how? Then there's the how, But if things are not going well 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes into the match and my approach is not working because my opponent is giving a different reaction or a different approach than I expected, then I need to also be able to shift and be like, okay, what I'm trying to look for, it's not there, but this is exposed, then I have to take it. You know, but I'm not a big fan of just going super open-minded and I'll just take whatever is there, because then you're playing more into their game. Maybe, okay, then whatever is there is just, you know, I don't know, your partner just knees on the ground and you're forced to play butterfly, you know, for example. And instead, maybe a 2-on-1, expose upper body, force him to stand up the leg and then enter the legs. So if I can create the scenario I want, that's the perfect scenario. But if I cannot create the scenario I want, I need to be able to capitalize on other scenarios that are being exposed by him defending the scenario I want. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I do have a game plan, but you know, it's a balance of like
being adaptable.
Being adaptable.
Yeah.
Adaptable, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, kind of sticking to, like, let's just say things are going your way, right? You've baited them successfully. Is there anything, like, subtle that, like, you see in the mid-match and you're like, okay, it's inevitable. I'm going to get to my X-guard position and the attacks that you like?
I think once I get to positions where I feel comfortable and I have my frames inside, I'm like into the legs, you know, I'm already off balanced. I have already off balanced my partner overhead or to the side. It's there, you know. But it's more like a feeling thing, you know. It's hard to, I mean, there's so many possibilities now speaking, you know, like from different positions that, okay, now I have it.
Yeah.
But it's a more a feeling thing in the moment, you know, like just like when you have a submission, maybe from the outside it looks tight, but maybe when you're applying the submission, it just doesn't feel like you have it. Same concept, you know?
Yeah.
Same idea.
So, still within your X guard system, you also use like a lot of like variety of guards, right, to kind of enter there. You know, we studied your De La Riva, your K, your sit-up guard. When are you kind of adjusting where it's like, okay, I'm going to attack from those guards specifically versus, all right, I want to enter into X guard in this like kind of scenario?
I mean, it depends on who I'm fighting against. Because there's levels, you know. If I feel like my level and my opponent's level, there's a big gap and I can do pretty much anything I want, I don't really have to worry so much about filtering. Okay, from here I'll go to X guard, and from X guard I'll finish this way.
Yeah.
You know? But if there's like size difference or you know, the skill is more equal, or maybe, let's say I'm fighting against someone who has really good guard and I feel like if I just sweep him and end up on top, now I'm on his guard, I have to deal with the guard. Maybe I can spend more time on bottom X guard, build up a better position, maybe double pens, or build up a back attack from the X guard. And then if I do sweep him because he's trying to not expose his back, I have a leg drag, I have a stack. It's easier to connect to guard passes. And it'll give me, it's more work at the moment, but more rewarding later, you know? For example, I have a sit-up guard and I'm going against someone a lot heavier and bigger. I have the option to try and come up wrestle up. That's one option. But is it worth it?
Yeah.
You know, like, then it's one of those things that you have to have it in the mind as far as the strategy before the match even starts, but also have to feel during the moment, during the fight, you know? For example, at PANS, I think 2024, I fought open class. Did the middleweight, and then I also fought open class. My first match at the open class, if I'm not wrong, I fought Jackson Souza. And I went to the sit-up guard, and both times I stood up on a single leg. But as soon as I stood up on a single leg, I realized, okay, this guy is big, heavy. He was not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I could just feel he was not uncomfortable with me standing on a single leg, and that made me uncomfortable. So I just kind of abandoned everything, then I pulled guard again, and then I'm like, you know what? From sit-up guard, I'll go shin to shin, X guard. So I had to adapt mid-match, you know? So I adapted mid-match, and then I was able to sweep him, get on top, pass, mount, and win the match.
Awesome.
You know? But then there's other match that I think my second match was against Gutenberg. He started blitzing my guard. I felt the physical difference right in the beginning. But finally, I'm able to kind of stop him a little bit, and I have this sit-up guard. I had, I think, a belt or a lapel fed on the leg. I had a sit-up guard. And I felt like he was just so heavy, I couldn't bring him over to my X guard. But he was leaning back so much. I grabbed the other pads on the knee, I stood up, put him down. Almost like a double leg position. Yeah. I couldn't stabilize him. He kind of turned away, we went out of bounds. But it wasn't really in my plan to wrestle up with both pants and become like a double leg fight against Gutenberg. He's so much bigger and stronger, heavier. The goal was to get to the X guard, but it was there.
Yeah.
I just felt in the moment. So it goes back to that adaptability, right? Like I have to have a game plan and strategy, but I need to be able to adapt depending. And it's honestly a feeling thing in the moment.
Yeah. I appreciate all the insight you've given us. I have one last question. Yeah, no, absolutely. I know that like this is getting into your mindset and like understanding what your approaches are. Like that's always going to be like very helpful for anyone listening. But I only have one last question for you. Can we expect to see you at the Pyramid later on this year?
For sure.
Yeah, and do you have a weight class that you could share?
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet.
Well,
but yeah, stay tuned.
Okay, sounds good. Any shout outs, anything you want to plug to our viewers? Yeah,
GameNess, my sponsor, and I believe it sponsors the video deep dive. I appreciate all the support, and I appreciate Deep Dive for all the support as well. I was already a fan. I was already watching your stuff on YouTube and the analysis and everything, and a lot of things I will learn from those videos as well. And then one day I see my videos there, I'm like, okay, this is nice. And then, yeah, it's just, it's funny how things happens, but I'm happy I'm doing the interview here. I'm happy I was able to, add to the Deep Dive channel as well. And yeah, thank you for the support.
Yeah. I appreciate your time, my man. Thank you.
Man. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Marcus for allowing us to, film in his gym. Again, Andy did a great, fantastic seminar here. So if you ever are around the area where Andy's doing a seminar, highly suggest going over there and checking him out. Absolutely, great takeaways from the seminar. So yeah, everybody, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram, and enjoy your day.
Thank you.